Empaths, have you been stonewalled? Stonewalled is when you want to have a conversation with somebody about a situation. However, they don't answer your questions. They actually refuse to answer your questions, or they're deliberately evasive. If so, this video is for you. It's your gal, Keely Taverner, psychotherapist who's passionate about helping empathic people break free of one-way, draining relationships. Because what you're seeking, I trust this is what you're seeking, is healthy, wholesome, guilt-free relationships, right? Give me a thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. So, if you've done work on yourself, you're journeying, you're open, you understand, empaths, that you need to take responsibility for yourself. And at times it may result in you needing to have a conversation with someone. However, despite your best efforts, you are being stonewalled. That's where that person is not going to have the conversation with you. So every time you try, it's like hitting a brick wall. And no matter what angle you try to come from it, there is just no way forward. And if you're in a relationship, potentially an intimate relationship, it may be a conversation that you just want to have, right? But you're trying to clear the air. You know that communication is good for a relationship, but the other person won't cooperate. It's not particularly nice. However, we must accept people as they are. We must accept that people have free will. People do not have to tell us their truths. People do not have to answer our questions. So the reality is that can be particularly frustrating for the empathic person who wants to have dialogue, who wants to communicate, who wants clarity about the situation in order to move on and move forward. However, if you're dealing with someone who stonewalls you, if they refuse to have the conversation, where does that leave you, empaths? Often, empathic people, we're not also great at letting it go. Therefore, we hold on, we may wait, we may try to come at the situation from another angle, and that's okay. But limit that type of behavior in order to free yourself, in order to be kind to yourself. Remember, empaths, we must accept people as they are, not as we want them to be. The reality is they do not have to play ball. And that can be particularly frustrating, especially if it's a relationship that you want to nurture, if it's a relationship you want to grow. However, if someone doesn't want to have the conversation with you, it's best you learn to accept the situation as it is. We must respect people's free will. And that then leaves you with a dilemma. What do you do now? What do you do when you know a conversation needs to be had, or someone denies that there's a problem? And maybe in their view, there isn't a problem, but there is a problem for you, and you want to air it. You want to have a conversation about it. You want to move beyond it. When someone doesn't want to have that conversation with you, empathic people, it is very disappointing and brings you potentially to a crossroads in the relationship. You need to think about, what do you want to do? What next do you do? If you want to try again, that's fine. But be mindful, limit how much energy you give this situation. Because if someone's stubborn or point blank refuses to have the conversation, it brings you back again to this crossroads. My encouragement to you is, you may need to consider if this is a relationship worthy of investment. One hand cannot clap. We need two people, two hands to clap. So if that person decides that they do not want to have the conversation, then you need to think about, what will you do next? Like I said, give it some time, give it some space, but limit that time. Otherwise, you could end up staying in a situation that doesn't work for you, or you begin to deny your own feelings, you begin to deny your intuition, you begin to deny what you see in order to keep the relationship going, even though you know within yourself that something is up and something's not right. Like I said, this takes you to a crossroads. And it's at this point we need to make a decision. Do you continue to try, or do you need to learn to let it go? Now, if you give yourself, if you want to try, like I said, try, put a time limit on it. But on the other hand, sometimes we may need to make the choice to let it go. Because if you don't, you're going to hold on, you're going to get crumbs, you're going to get a relationship that's threadbare, and you are not going to be articulate about what the problems or the issues are that come up for you. That's not healthy for you. That results in you becoming in denial behaviors, avoidance behaviors. And if this has been a problem for you in the past, be careful. This is a red flag for you to pay attention to in terms of yourself. At times, and it may not delight you, it may be in your best interest to let it go. Now, acceptance doesn't mean we like the situation. However, acceptance frees you. What acceptance can also promote is the grieving process. That's when we grieve for what could have been, our hopes, our ambitions, our wishes for that relationship. They won't manifest because if someone is not prepared to communicate with you, if you're being stonewalled, where else is there to go? In such situations, and whilst it may not delight your heart, it may well be in your best interests to let it go, to grieve for the relationship, and then take the energy that you are plowing into that relationship and place that energy somewhere far more productive. Now, that may make you sad. That may make you feel regretful. And if you're not careful, you start to think that you're the problem. You'll start to think about, what did I do? Was it me? Sometimes, empaths, please, it is not about you. Sometimes it is about that person, their process, and that is not in your control. Sometimes we just have to let it go. And I know that is not always easy for us. But if you are putting your energy into a fruitless situation, it's not great for your greatness. It's not good for your wellness. And so, because you have ambitions of having a healthy, wholesome relationship and you want a good life, in spite of what you may want and desire, you have to make a choice to let it go in order to let yourself grieve and move on from the situation. I hope this video makes sense to you. We're talking here about being stonewalled, where someone will not have dialogue with you. That is not nice. It's very uncomfortable. There are things that might be on your heart that you want to say, but if somebody doesn't want to have the conversation with you, empaths, what can you do? If they don't reflect on their behavior, what can we do? You can try, limit that time, and then you may need to think about letting go, grieving for what you had hoped for, and then redistribute your energy into your own potential, your own gifts, your hobbies, your interests, or try something new. Get out of your comfort zone, because plowing our energy into situations that will not change is not great for our greatness. It's one of the ways we end up sad, depressed, anxious, and baffled. Using our energy, contemplating, reflecting. If someone doesn't want to have the conversation, we may just need to learn to let it go. It's your girl, Kitty Taverner, psychotherapist who's passionate about helping empaths find healthy, wholesome relationships. Do take care of you, because if you don't, who will?